The quiet rebellion within, a Stoic awakening. Begins. Have you ever wondered why your life feels like it's always just out of your grasp, no matter how hard you try to catch up? Do you ever feel like your days are being written by someone else, and you're just a tired actor reading lines you didn't choose? And what if I told you that everything you've been waiting for, clarity, strength, freedom, won't come from doing more, but from doing less, with intention? This is not a call for hype. This is an invitation to return to that still place inside you where real change begins. Welcome to Stoic Zen Practice 1. Master your mind, not the world. We often walk through life like we're holding our breath, hoping the day won't throw another problem our way, bracing for the next comment that stings, dreading the traffic, the news, the unexpected. But what if the real problem isn't what's happening around us, but how we react to it? The Stoics knew the truth before neuroscience ever confirmed it. The human mind, left unchecked, is a storm, but trained, it becomes a compass. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That isn't just poetic. That's tactical. That's survival. You see, most of our suffering doesn't come from events. It comes from our resistance to them. We exhaust ourselves trying to control things we never truly owned. The weather, someone's opinion, a missed opportunity, a bad driver, a raised voice, a dip in the market. We chase peace in a world that was never designed to stand still. But what if you flip that script? What if just for today you practiced radical clarity, distinguishing what belongs to you and what doesn't? That's the cornerstone of Stoic discipline. Every morning, take just 3 minutes to ask, what might happen today that's beyond my control? And how will I respond when it does? This mental rehearsal isn't pessimism. It's power. It's what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the preparation for misfortune. Not because we expect the worst, but because we choose not to be shattered by it. I started this practice with small things: being late for a meeting, losing Wi-Fi, receiving unexpected criticism. Slowly, these stopped being threats and became exercises. And over time, something changed. I became less reactive, more present. The storms still came, but they didn't knock me over. They whispered, but didn't shake me, because I was no longer living from the outside in. I was responding from the inside out. This isn't about becoming indifferent. It's about becoming free. Practice 2. Anchor your day with purpose. You wake up. The day is fresh. But before your feet even touch the floor, the noise begins. Notifications, news, pressure, distractions disguised as duty. And in the blink of a scroll, your clarity is gone. The world has already decided your agenda, unless you choose to take it back. In Stoicism, purpose is more than a goal. It's a practice. It's waking up and choosing not to be carried by the current, but to steer the ship. Marcus Aurelius warned us, if you don't have a consistent goal in life, you can't live it in a consistent way. Think about that. Without direction, every choice feels random. Every day becomes reaction instead of creation. And that emptiness you feel, it's not from doing too little. It's from doing too much without knowing why. purpose doesn't need to be grand. It doesn't need a title or applause, it just needs to be yours. Maybe it's finishing a chapter, helping someone in silence, showing up fully at dinner with your family, or sitting in stillness for 10 minutes without running from your thoughts. Stephen Hawking, paralyzed and told he had only years to live, asked himself a simple question. If I still have time, what can I do with it that truly matters? He chose to think, to study, to expand our understanding of the universe. And in that choice, he found freedom. You may not have his condition, but you have his opportunity to choose every single morning. So ask yourself, what would make this day worth living? Then hold on to that. Let it filter your actions. Let it help you say no to what's loud but meaningless. That small daily clarity is what separates the ones who drift from the ones who build something real. Purpose isn't found. It's remembered, then repeated, one day at a time. Practice 3. Embrace discomfort on purpose. Let's be honest. Discomfort scares us. A cold shower, a difficult conversation, silence, hunger, loneliness. Anything that shakes our convenience feels like a threat. So we run, we scroll, we overeat, we talk too much, we check our phones in the middle of thinking, all to escape a moment that asks us to feel something raw. But here's the paradox. The more you run from discomfort, the more it controls you. The Stoics took the opposite route. Seneca called it voluntary discomfort, a form of training. Not masochism, discipline, a way to remind yourself, this thing I feared, it's not that bad. Whether it was eating plain food, walking without a cloak in winter, or sleeping on hard floors, they chose hardship to train resilience. Why? Because when real adversity comes, you're not surprised. You've already met it. Viktor Frankl didn't choose his suffering. A Holocaust survivor, he endured horrors most of us can't imagine, but he discovered something deeper. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That insight didn't come from theory. It came from surviving the unimaginable. And so we must ask, how do we build strength before the storm arrives? You don't have to suffer to grow, but you do have to practice discomfort. Begin small. Wake up without snoozing. Fast for half a day. Say no when it's hard. Speak your truth gently but firmly. Choose a task you've been avoiding and face it now, not later. Every time you choose discomfort with intention, you regain a piece of your inner power. You begin to realize that comfort was never peace. It was sedation. And that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in spite of it. True transformation doesn't start with a perfect plan. It starts with one difficult choice made on purpose. Practice 4. Imagine the worst and free yourself from it. We spend so much time dreading what might happen. The conversation that might go wrong. The opportunity that might slip through our fingers. The rejection we haven't even received yet, but already fear like a blade hanging over our heads. That fear of loss, of judgment, of failure, it paralyzes us more than any actual event ever could. But what if the key isn't to silence that fear, but to meet it head on? The Stoics believed that peace doesn't come from avoiding bad outcomes. It comes from preparing for them. Seneca taught the practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It sounds dark, even grim, but it's actually liberating. When you take time to imagine what could go wrong and how you would respond, you remove the unknown's power over you. It's not catastrophizing. It's strategizing. It's you saying, if the worst happens, I will not collapse, I will act. Picture an athlete preparing for the Olympics. He doesn't just imagine the podium. He also trains for the false start, the bad weather, the cramps. Why? Because visualizing setbacks makes them less shocking and makes recovery faster. Likewise, when I was preparing to quit a stable job, I wrote down every fear. Losing income, losing identity, being judged. And then I wrote down what I'd do. Simplify expenses, lean on trusted people, stay grounded in my values. Suddenly, the fear faded. Not because the risks vanished, but because I met them with a plan. And here's the truth. Most of the things I feared never even happened. But the confidence I gained from preparing for them, that stayed with me. Fear feeds on vagueness. Clarity kills it. So today, don't just chase hopes. Confront fears. Write them down. Make a plan. And remind yourself, if this happens, I will endure. I will adapt. I will overcome. That is not pessimism. That is freedom. Practice 5. Remember death and come alive. There's a moment, quiet, often sudden, when you realize that time is not waiting for you. Maybe it comes in a hospital room, or on your birthday, or during a long walk when the sun feels different than it used to. You realize this life, it's not forever, and everything you postpone is slowly slipping into the cracks of never. The Stoics had a name for this awareness: memento mori. Remember that you will die. To the modern ear, it sounds somber, morbid even. But in truth, it is one of the most profound invitations to live. Because when you face the truth of death, not in panic, but in clarity, you start making choices that matter. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Not as a threat, as a compass. Imagine this. If today were your last, what would you say that you've been holding back? Who would you forgive? What would suddenly no longer matter? I have a friend who lost his father in an accident. And after the shock, instead of falling into bitterness, he started asking himself each morning, if this were my last day, how would I live it? That one question changed everything. He let go of grudges. He pursued photography, something he had shelved for years. He started being here, really being present, even in the mundane. That's the gift of memento mori. Not fear but urgency. Not sorrow but reverence. It strips away triviality. It focuses your attention. Because when you know life is brief, you stop spending your days like they're infinite. We don't need skulls on our desks to remember this truth. We just need presence. We need the courage to ask, am I living a day worth remembering? If the answer is no, you already know what must change. Let this practice anchor you. Let it cleanse your distractions and recalibrate your choices. Not tomorrow, today, right now. Because life is not promised, but how we live it. is up to us. Practice 6. Pause. The hidden power of not reacting. There's a split second, barely noticeable, between something happening and your response to it. In that tiny space, entire futures are born or destroyed. Most people never claim that space. They live in reaction. They get cut off in traffic and scream. They get insulted and lash back. Someone disagrees, and they raise their voice. All of it automatic. All of it driven by ego and reflex. But the Stoics, they trained for something else, a different way of being. A pause. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. That truth is simple but transformative, because once you learn to pause, you gain control over your emotions, over your words, over your fate. Look at any moment of deep regret in your life, and you'll likely find it began with a reaction. That was too fast. Words you wish you could unsay, decisions you made in anger, relationships damaged because emotion outran reason. But here's the secret. Strength isn't in suppressing your feelings. It's in not being ruled by them. The Stoic response isn't cold, it's calm. When insulted, they breathe. When provoked, they observe. They let the emotion pass like a wave, without drowning in it. And then they act. Or they don't. But they choose. I began practicing this in small ways. Waiting 3 seconds before replying to criticism. Walking outside before sending that email. Writing my emotions down instead of venting them. And slowly the habit formed. That pause became my shield. Not to hide, but to choose. To respond instead of react. To lead myself instead of being pulled by ego. And here's what I discovered. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more stillness. And when you pause, when you hold your response for just a moment, you become the stillness in the chaos. That is strength. That is Stoic. Practice 7. Let go of needing praise. Live for your own approval. Have you ever done something good, something kind, something meaningful, and felt a hollow silence when no one noticed? Have you ever second-guessed your own decisions simply because they weren't applauded, liked, or shared? It's subtle, but powerful. That craving for validation can shape the entire architecture of our lives without us realizing it. We live in a world that trains us to seek approval constantly. A world of likes, followers, and filtered applause. It teaches us that being seen is more important than being true. But the Stoics taught something radical. The truest form of freedom begins the moment you no longer need to be watched in order to do what is right. Seneca once wrote, "Do not seek for admiration. It is always fleeting." And he was right. Because admiration, while sweet, is conditional. It disappears as fast as it arrives. And when you tie your worth to it, you become a prisoner of other people's reactions. But what if instead of chasing applause, you chased alignment? What if you made choices not because they would be celebrated, but because they reflected your principles? There's a power in that. A stillness. You start doing the right thing in silence, not because it's seen, but because it's who you are. And over time, something shifts. You stop bending yourself to fit into the shape of people's expectations. You stop needing to explain, to impress, to be approved. You just are. Whole. Quietly whole. It doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop outsourcing your peace to their opinions. So ask yourself, who are you when no one is watching? What would you still do if no one ever said thank you? That's your core. That's where your life begins, not in performance, but in principle. Let that guide you. Because the applause fades, but the integrity you build stays. Practice 8. Journal. Write to see yourself. Clearly, in the middle of a noisy world, your own thoughts can become strangers. You react. You move. You carry emotions you don't understand. You go to sleep feeling heavy, unsure why. You wake up already overwhelmed. It's like walking through fog and calling it normal. But there is a quiet tool, a humble practice that the Stoics used to cut through that fog. Journaling. When Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations, he wasn't writing for history. He was writing to himself, to stay sane, to remember his values, to question his impulses, to anchor himself in the whirlwind of power, loss, and expectation. That's what Stoic journaling is, not a performance, but a conversation. A space to ask yourself, what pulled me off course today? What fear is driving me? What truth have I ignored? You don't need to be a writer. You don't need perfect grammar. You just need honesty. Brutal, loving honesty. Because when you write, your thoughts slow down enough for you to see them. And that's when transformation becomes possible. You see patterns. You see excuses. You see strength. When I started journaling daily, it felt clumsy. I wasn't sure what to say. But slowly the journal became a mirror. It reflected my hidden motivations, my silent battles. And in that mirror, I could choose better. Speak less, react slower, forgive more. Even 5 minutes a day can change the way you live. You can begin with one question. Did I live with reason today? And the answer, whatever it is, becomes the beginning of growth. So if your mind feels crowded, if your emotions feel loud, sit down, open a page, and let the fog lift. Because clarity doesn't always come from thinking more. Sometimes it comes from writing simply. Practice 9. Begin with gratitude. Rewire your morning mindset. Most people wake up in a state of lack. Not enough time, not enough sleep, not enough success. From the very first breath, their mind is searching for what's missing, and in doing so, it misses everything that's already there. But gratitude is a Stoic superpower, not because it makes life perfect, but because it sharpens your awareness of what is already good. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." And in that one sentence, he cracked open the truth. Poverty of spirit isn't about what you have. It's about what you constantly feel you lack. The antidote? A morning practice of presence, not forced cheerfulness, but quiet noticing. Before checking your phone, before checking your to-do list. Pause. Breathe. Think of 3 things: a roof, a body that moves, someone who loves you, or even just the breath you're taking right now. It sounds small, but that small act is a lever. It shifts your perception. It tells your brain, we are already enough. And from that place of enoughness, you act, not from panic, not from competition, but from calm intention. One of the most inspiring examples of this mindset is Nick Vujicic. Born without limbs, he lives with radiant energy. Why? Because he chooses to begin with gratitude. Every day, no exceptions. He doesn't let circumstance define him. He lets gratitude direct him. You can do the same, even just for 1 hour. Try it. No complaints for the first hour of your day. Don't criticize yourself, don't judge others, don't curse the weather. Just hold silence or speak only appreciation. You'll be shocked how different your day feels. Lighter, clearer, yours. Because gratitude doesn't change what happens, it changes how you experience it. And that, in the Stoic worldview, is the only power that truly matters. Practice 10. Guard the first hour and win the entire day. There's a hidden doorway that opens every single morning, quiet, unnoticed, but powerful. It's the very first hour after you open your eyes. And how you enter that hour will silently shape everything that follows. For most people, that hour is stolen by complaints. The alarm rings and the first thought is dread. I'm so tired, I hate this job, I don't want to do this today. It feels normal, harmless. But what if it's not? What if that 1 hour is the battleground for your entire emotional state? The Stoics believed that the first moments of consciousness are sacred. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. Not to seek comfort, but to face life with strength. And that begins with language. Because language is how we cast the spell that either lifts us or sinks us. When you complain, even internally, you're teaching your brain to see life as a burden. But when you hold space, when you pause before letting negativity take root, you shift the lens. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means refusing to pollute your first thoughts with narratives of lack. Instead of complaining about the rain, you accept its rhythm. Instead of resenting your obligations, you reframe them as responsibilities. Proof that you are alive, that your choices matter, that you still have the agency to create something meaningful today. Try it. For just 1 hour tomorrow morning, make a vow. I will not complain. I will not criticize, judge, or resist reality. I will simply be. I will breathe. I will notice what is already good. I will act, without drama, without resentment. Make your tea slowly. Journal a line. Stretch. Greet the day like someone who knows time is precious, because it is. And you'll be amazed how this 1 hour, simple, silent, sacred, can ripple through your entire day like a quiet revolution. You are not a victim of mornings. You are the author of them. Conclusion. The quiet transformation begins now. You've just walked through 10 Stoic practices. Not grand gestures, but small, deliberate shifts that change how you relate to life. From redefining discomfort to reclaiming. The first hour of your day, from journaling honestly to releasing the need for praise. These aren't rules. They're reminders. They point you back to what has always been within you. Strength, clarity, and the power to choose. change your life overnight, but you don't have to. Real transformation isn't loud, it's quiet. It happens in the seconds between stimulus and response, in the choice to pause, in the breath before reacting, in the moment you say, "Today I live by principle, not pressure." So I invite you to take one of these practices and begin today. Not all 10, just one. Start where you are, and when you forget, because we all do, return gently. Forgive yourself. Begin again. That's the Stoic way. And if this message resonated with you, if it helped you pause, breathe, or reflect even for a moment, I'm truly grateful you're here. New reflections like this await. So if you want to keep walking this path of inner mastery with us, consider subscribing to Stoic Zen. It's free, it's simple, and it's a way to make sure you never forget. You are not alone in this. Until next time, stay steady, stay kind, stay true.